Today's Mercedes-Benz interview of the day brought to you by Mercedes-Benz Dream Days. The Mercedes-Benz Dream Days are here with exceptional offers on the CLE Coupe, E-Class Sedan, C-Class Sedan, CLE Cabriolet, going on now through September 3rd. Learn more at mbusa.com/dream. We'll update our poll results. We'll settle on a poll question for Hour 2. We make way for Christopher Mad Dog Russo, host of Mad Dog Unleashed, and you can see him contributing to First Take with Stephen A. Just signed a new 3-year extension to stay as the face and voice of Mad Dog Sports Radio. Okay, I'm working. I love you. I'm working for 3.5 more years. Are you trying to steal my headlines by only working 3 more years?
I hadn't thought of that, and nobody can steal your headlines, you little radio Hall of Famer, you. I thought of it, though. It's interesting. Did you know that I was with Mike for 19 years? And did you know when I did that press conference way back in September or maybe in August of 2008, I said that I look at Sirius as the second half of my career? And I just said it at the time, the little press conference I did. And did you know that at the end of these 3 years, it would be 19 years for Sirius? So I would have done 19 with Mike. And then after these 3 years are up, well, I never thought of it, 19 with Sirius. So maybe 38 years would be enough for Chris Russo. So maybe at 68, and you're going to go a lot longer than me. I mean, you're a big star, for crying out loud. Feisty and peppy, and they got this show that's as hot as hell. So maybe I will leave the scene to give you the platform.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you for being a team player. I was at ESPN for 18 years. I've been gone from ESPN for 18 years.
Wow, perfect. I didn't realize that. You've been gone for 18 years at ESPN. Wow, 18. Was that a very tough move for you at the 18-year period? I know they changed and formats and things moved. The whole scenario changed. But how about for you leaving one place for 18 years and starting somewhere else for another 18 years? How about that transformation there?
I'm conducting the interview here, but I'll let you ask that question. No, you know what it was, Chris? I think I got to the point where I realized maybe where SportsCenter was headed, and I didn't want to be part of it. They didn't encourage personalities. They just said it's those 4 letters. And I really needed to try something new because I'd kind of mastered doing SportsCenter. And I just needed to get out from behind those 4 letters. And those, I couldn't have made it without those 4 letters, but they were a springboard to try something different. And I needed to kind of see if I could do it myself. And thankfully I did. I mean, there were times when we didn't know if we could make paychecks for the Danettes when I first started. We were doing the show out of my attic for 3 years, but I kind of needed to be humbled a little bit because I got a little too full of myself. And I didn't know if I was getting any better. So that's a
how about that?
Long-winded way.
I've never heard you say that.
Yeah.
Never heard you say that. Interesting.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
But you
go ahead. You may continue.
Yes. Any other questions for me?
No. I was going to ask you a Jack Ramsay question. I know you're big on Jack Ramsay, but I'll lay low on that for a minute. Go ahead.
Wonderful man. Wonderful man. Always enjoyed being around him during the NBA Finals. And you know what? Sometimes when you see players, the respect that players and coaches had for Dr. Jack Ramsay was amazing. When we did the Rockets, when the Rockets were winning back-to-back, Hakeem Olajuwon, after every game, would come up to Jack Ramsay, and he would say, Dr. Jack, what did you see? And Jack Ramsay would say, hey, pump fake at the foul line, and you can go off the dribble. Now, if the person facing Hakeem had said, Dr. Jack, what are you seeing? Knowing him, he would have said, hey, watch for the head fake at the top of the, like if you ask for advice, he would give you advice. And he was just a wonderful, selfless, great person. And, dearly missed because he was truly an innovator. You look at the Blazer Mania team.
Oh, great. And, remember, Jack Ramsay's son went to Rollins, Chris Ramsay.
Yes.
So I knew Jack. Jack used to come down and visit him all the time. So that's number one. Number two, Pat Williams was a very good buddy of mine who just passed away last week. and funerals tomorrow down in Florida, the whole bit. But he saved my career, Pat Williams. To make a long story short, when he got to Orlando in the mid '80s. But did you know? I did not know this until Ernie. Of course, he told me this last week. Did you know when he left the Sixers in '68 to become the general manager of the Bulls, his first GM job? He was the business manager of the Sixers. So he goes to Chicago. Jack wanted to get rid of Chet Walker. So the first trade that Pat made was with his old boss, and he traded Jim Washington for Chet Walker. And Chet Walker, as you know, was a very good player.
Yeah.
And was a very good player in the Bulls. So Pat's first trade as an executive in the NBA, he stole one from Dr. Jack, which is amazing. I was thinking about that the last couple of days. Anyway, go ahead.
The headline with NBA, with TNT now out of the equation here. What do you think happens with Shaq and Ernie, Kenny, Charles? What do you think they can do after this next season? And then,
Well, didn't Ernie say he wasn't going to leave TNT?
He's not going to go anywhere. But could they still do that show in Atlanta, even though it's not for TNT? Could they do it for Amazon?
Yeah, listen, I definitely think that, I don't buy Barkley's retirement nonsense. So he's not quitting. They're paying him too much money, number one. What's he going to do? So I do think Shaq, Kenny, and Charles will end up somewhere. Maybe they go to NBC. Maybe they go to Amazon. They're too good. The show is too acclaimed. So they are going to work after the contract with TNT wears out. You know what's going to be interesting, Dan? That is going to be a weird year next year for those three. TNT is a lame duck. You know how lame ducks with the television, it becomes very tricky. Charles will say lots of crazy things.
I know.
He's mad at TNT anyway for losing the rights. So that is going to be an interesting dynamic, saying goodbye to a relationship that you've been in sports for whatever it is, how long they've had the rights, 30 years, 40. You would know a bit more than me. It's been a long decades. And then for them to leave, that is going to be tricky. But I would be shocked if those three, now it won't be Ernie, with somebody else, but I would be stunned if those three don't end up doing some sort of pregame, postgame on either Amazon or NBC. I'd be shocked. I really would.
Christopher Mad Dog Russo, host of Mad Dog Unleashed on SiriusXM Channel 82, host of High Heat on MLB Network, and contributes to ESPN's First Take. I do find it interesting on your radio show, you are almost asked to defend whatever Stephen A. Smith says. Like, how do you allow that to happen, Chris? You're there when he says these things. So you feel like you're put in, I don't know if it's uncomfortable, but you're kind of asked to validate or discredit what Stephen A. says.
Yeah, it's tricky. And I love him. And Stephen A. is he's a big factor. He's the reason why I've had this little renaissance. And he's been great to me. So I don't want to hear it from my fans. But let's face it, you and I are doing sports talk. It's a different kind of audience. My fans, your fans have been following us for a long period of time. Normally, your fans, my fans are not going to watch debate shows in the morning on TV. So, I don't think the TV fans listen to the radio, and I don't know if the radio fans watch the TV. So it's a little bit like, say, Boomer Esiason doing radio on WFAN in New York. His radio audience and his TV audience are two different things. So you have to juggle that. Furthermore, remember on ESPN you do a lot of NBA. Now you know better than anybody, even Olympic stuff. I do plenty of NBA, but in the middle of January, I'm not going to break down a regular season game between the Thunder and the T-Wolves. And on an ESPN, they will do that. And so I always get asked, Chris, how much NBA can you do on ESPN? Well, what do you want me to do? I don't handle the format. That's up to them. Chris, we're talking NBA today. We're talking NBA. I got to keep my mouth shut and figure out a way to do it. And again, I'm not going to do that on the radio.
Wait, have you fought the format? Have you been in those meetings where you go, oh, do we have to talk about Bronny James?
I'll tell you something. You'll be proud of me. All right. I'll give you the perfect example. Yesterday, I said, guys, you have to give me a quick take. All right? What do you want to do, Chris? That little 1 minute thing? And I said, well, at first we we're going to do Mets Yankees. And then I thought about it. No, do the quick take on Paul Skeens pitching in the ninth inning the day before. He came out in the ninth inning, 1-1 against St. Louis on 92 pitches. Give me that. So they gave me a 1 minute quick take on Paul Skeens. So I felt I made a contribution to the diversity and the versatility of TV sports talk by doing something. Now, how many times,
They
Dan?
gave you a minute, Chris.
A minute. I got a minute. But they had to highlight up. How many times, you would know better than anybody, would ESPN want to do something on Paul Skeens in the morning, in the middle of July, with football training camps and all that? Never a chance.
Never.
So I feel like I made a little contribution. It made me feel good.
Wow.
I take my little wins. I take my little wins when I can get them, Mr. Patrick.
But do you raise your hand and go, I can't talk about Bronny James anymore?
Oh, God, yeah.
Can we not talk about Aaron Rodgers today?
Rodgers is right now, you got to do some because obviously it's his first couple days of training camp and football moves. I'll give you a topic that I think we overdo. How many times can I talk about Dak Prescott's contract? Whether they pay him $55 million or $60, who cares, for crying out loud? I mean, let's watch the games. So I have to do some of that. And those are topics that we don't normally do on the radio, on a day-in basis. But I'll tell you, Dan, something that's interesting, especially this time of the year, and you know how hard it is to do sports talk necessarily this time of the year. A lot of times I use what I did in the morning on the Tuesdays or the Wednesdays, and I will use that for the radio as content to fill 15 minutes. Yeah. For instance, the other day I opened up this radio show with NFL storylines. Where did I get that idea? Well, we had done that on the First Take.
Yeah.
So sometimes I try to, and I figure my radio audience didn't see me on the First Take. So what difference is, and the First Take people who watched it don't have Sirius XM on Channel 82. So to me, it's almost like I use one topic to pacify two audiences. You've been there.
Yeah.
You try not to be repetitive, but you got to make sure that the one audience that you know what they like and the other audience, you know what they like. So you try to handle it both ways.
Does an 18-game regular season make sense?
Well, it makes sense, Danny, only because you and I, for me and for you, it's content. And let's face it, the NFL, when you and I started doing this 30, 40 years ago, you didn't do the NFL in the middle of the summertime. You didn't do the NFL in June, July. Now, you didn't even do it really after the Super Bowl until the draft. Now it's such a 12-month sport. I don't know anybody who breaks into this TV or radio business, and my son's going to do this now, who is not going to focus in on the NFL and college football essentially 365, 24/7. Yeah. So if it gives you content, the extra game, you and I both know it waters down a regular season. You and I both know 18 games in that sport's almost too much. They're going to move this Super Bowl to President's Day weekend. You know that too. You know what? Everybody talks football. America's obsessed with it. Bet, fantasy, everything else. You know what? It's going to help you and I make our jobs a little easier to have another week of regular season football. To me, it's okay. Is it overdone in the purest form? Certainly. But for content-wise, for Danny Patrick and Christopher Russo, I'll take it.
What's the most you've ever bet on a sporting event?
Well, here's one I'll tell you. When I bet NBA, NFL, I'll give you NFL. Let's say I'm going to bet the Jets, by the way. They're 9.5 over/under. Rodgers, they're due for some good luck.
You're all Rodgers in on the Jets?
Yeah, I'm going to bet the over.
Okay.
I'm going to bet them to win 10 games, 10-7.
Okay.
Rodgers, healthy. I'm going to do that.
Okay.
I'll go to Vegas to do it. It's a 6-month bet. What do you think is a reasonable amount for me to bet? And I'll tell you what my bet is. You take a pick. You take a guess at it. What do you think a reasonable amount is?
You've been called cheap, so not by me. I think Mike Francesa said that.
Yeah, he did.
I'm going to
dust in my wallet.
I'm going to say 2,500.
10,000.
Okay. All right, you got my attention.
It's a 5-month bet.
I mean, that's a day's pay at First Take.
Yep. If I can look at it that way. That's a day's pay for you doing this show too, my friend.
Oh yeah.
I mean, let's not cry poorhouse, Dan.
We're all doing well.
There you go.
We're all.
So
doing
I'll do
well.
that.
Okay.
So I'll do that.
10 grand.
I'll do that. I'll go to Vegas and I'll get the bets in, and it keeps me into it for 4 or 5 months. That's the bottom line.
Okay. Maybe I'll take 5 grand of that and take the under.
You want to go the other way on the Jets?
They're the Jets. They're the Jets.
I know. I tell you, there's a lot of teams I like. Did you see the Atlanta schedule? The Falcons?
No.
Oh my God, it's easy.
I got other things to do than look at the Falcons schedule.
I understand. Well, if you bet 10 grand, you wouldn't. I promise you that.
Okay, are you betting 10 grand on any other over under?
Yes.
How much are you betting when you go to Vegas?
I'll bet 3-4 teams.
Okay, so you're going to bet.
I can't take the money with me, for crying out loud. What the hell?
But your family can.
Let them earn it themselves.
Okay, so you're going to bet $30,000 or $40,000 prior to the start of the season.
I will do it legally in Vegas, correct?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so your other over-unders. You have the Jets at 9.5.
I haven't figured out exactly which ones yet. I like the Rams. What are they, 8.5?
I like the Rams
would be
too.
good.
I like the Rams.
I like Atlanta, as I said. And I always like to take an under. And last year, I took the Eagles at 11 or 11.5. You know, they were 10-1, and I won the bet.
I was shocked that Nick Sirianni kept his job after that.
Oh, absolutely. But this is how betting works. I also took Jacksonville over 9.5. They were 8-3. You win one.
Yes.
You lose one.
Yeah.
By the way, can I ask you something? It's funny.
Yes, you can.
Did you see the trailer for the new Bob Dylan movie?
With Timothy Chalamet?
Yes. Did you see that?
I've read articles, seen pictures, his look of.
It's called A Complete Unknown.
Yeah, like a Rolling Stone.
Oh my God, will I be into that? Comes out Christmas. You have to see the trailer. Get Todd Fritz or one of your Danettes to get that for you.
Okay.
It's great.
Right.
It's great.
Well, you just discovered good music not too long ago, Chris.
Yeah, Laurel Canyon.
Yes,
Laurel Canyon.
yes. Then all of a sudden you're like, wow, Joni Mitchell, I guess she was pretty good. Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young.
Good job, Dana. You listen more than I think you do.
I'm always doing a drive-by, Chris. I just want to keep you honest, when you...
You're right, though.
Yeah.
You're right. And there's a new book on Joni Mitchell out. Did you know that?
Yes, I did. Joni had a lot of boyfriends.
Oh, she sure did. Oh, my God.
Yes. Yeah.
Crosby, Graham Nash, Jackson Brown. Oh, my God. Plenty.
Yes, she did. All right. Well, keep fighting the good fight there, dog.
I love you, Dan.
Thank you, buddy.
You have had a hell. You are something. Keep it going.
Thank you. I don't know what that means, but I'm going to take Chris's word for it that that's something good. I'm something.